welcome back and thank you for joining us for another episode. We are like piecing it together today. We don't have our normal super awesome studio setup, but I'm sure over the next couple of weeks we'll piece everything back together. I know that Nick is in a new office, I'm in a new office, and so we're trying to figure it out, but we're still excited to keep the train moving forward. And today we have another awesome guest. She is the founder of Arch Legacy Firm, and they specialize in the needs of young families, special needs trusts, all things, I think, estate planning and a whole bunch more. And we're excited to talk to her about her business is evolving. Welcome to the show, Trish Butcher. Trish, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, really appreciate it. She's working from the home office today as well. Who needs to go into the building when you got everything you need right here?
That's right.
I love it. Well, we always try to shy away from just reading people's LinkedIn profiles as their intros. We would love to hear a little bit about your story, your background, the founding of Arch, all the things. And usually you're the one that'll tell the story better than anybody else. So kind of give us the elevator pitch. Who is Trish? Tell us a little bit about your journey and we'll dive in.
Absolutely. So thanks. So I'm a native Athenian. I'm born and raised in Athens, Georgia. Go Dogs. And my sister and I founded Arch Legacy Firm 5 years ago, right before COVID hit. So I don't know if that's really good timing or bad timing, but I think dying was certainly on a lot of people's minds at the time. And so a little background, my grandmother was a professor at the University of Georgia and was a real estate investor, developed several neighborhoods, and had created quite a legacy for herself. But when she passed away in 2010, we really realized the full extent of how badly her estate plan was going to fail my family. My dad, after my grandfather passed away, my dad was in probate court for 4 years. He paid out over $200,000 in attorney's fees. It was a very stressful process. His step siblings won absolutely no argument, but it doesn't matter. What we realized is that if you have standing, you can contest in probate court very easily. And so it was a very eye-opening experience for me and my family, especially since my grandmother had an estate plan. It just epically failed. So that's really what brought us here and what made us very interested in helping other families never go through what my family went through when it comes to estate planning and probate.
Wow. There's one, thank you for sharing. There's a lot to dive in there, and I want to talk about, what the day-to-day of the business looks like, how you've grown it, and all the things. I am curious though, when because this is something that I'm not well versed on. When you say someone normally the horror stories you hear are that people are just wildly unprepared, right? They don't have a plan at all. When you say that there was an estate plan but it failed, obviously you can't dive into every single detail, but in a general sense, what does that mean? How do you have something in place and it just doesn't work?
So I think we're often told that we need a will. Everybody needs a will. You have to go update your will, go get a will. And while wills are important, wills are not the end all be all. Wills actually don't do most of what people think that they do. Specifically, they don't avoid probate court. So if you just have a will-based plan or just a last will and testament, then most likely your family is still going to go through probate court. And then ultimately it's completely up to some random judge's discretion as to what happens. And again, anybody with standing can still contest. So even though my grandmother had a will, they were still able to contest and drag the process out for 4 years. But long story short, my grandmother's will was also changed post mental capacity, which is much easier than you would think. So her wills were even changed after she was no longer medically or mentally capable of changing them. So it was illegal, but very hard to prove. And then also, at the end of the day, not all attorneys are the same. And these attorneys, I think a lot of attorneys see probate as their retirement plan. And I think these attorneys knew that they were going to make a lot more money in probate than they would avoiding probate. So they sent my family right into that court process. And yes, unfortunately, I have had attorneys tell me to my face that they do this. So this is not uncommon.
Wow. So really, That sounds predatory to me. Part of the system is you can have attorneys that you think are there to help you, and they're actually driving your family down the wrong path. Is going to cost them a lot more in the future. It's part of their business plan. That's one reason to start a business.
Yeah,
Man,
it's very unscrupulous for sure, and very sleazy. But unfortunately, we all know sleazy professionals are in every aspect, but lawyers seem to be a lot of lawyers.
so to that end, like you're talking to someone, right? That just admitted I don't always have the knowledge. I'm not totally schooled up on these things. What is it that Arch does, from a more specific standpoint, to help people avoid, what your family went through?
So we do revocable living trust primarily. I think when a lot of people think of the word trust, they think of like the Richie Rich trust fund. So they think they have to be bazillionaires to need a trust. And I just dated myself because that's a total millennial movie. But
One of my favorites growing up.
I mean, come on, it was a classic in the '90s, and they're really not. So this is a completely different type of trust. This is a trust purely to avoid probate court. So if you own real estate, especially if you're a real estate investor, if you own businesses, all of these things are typically properties that have to go through probate court unless you do a revocable living trust and you avoid it. So I often joke that probate's where your business goes to die. And I'm kind of joking, but it's still true. As a business owner, it's definitely something that I needed to make sure was covered for myself and my business and my family because my husband's not a lawyer, so he cannot own a law firm. So I have to be even extra careful on that front. But living trusts are amazing tools. They're helpful for a lot of families, not just super wealthy. And their main goal is to avoid probate. So that's how we do it.
So Trish, let me ask you this: you mentioned the kind of not so great about lawyers and kind of the viewpoints that the public has. Now, when we kind of start to mix in the new transition that's happening with technology and AI, what concerns are you seeing right now that is raising your alarm bells when just everyday consumers or everyday people are maybe consulting with AI on trying to figure out how to plan their estate or protect themselves from taxes and probate?
Yeah, so AI is super helpful in a lot of ways, and I think it's a great research starting point. And considering how much time I make sure that my business is AI optimized, I mean, I hope I at least show up if someone searches in my area. But I think AI has like its super helpful places, its uses. It's great for research. It's not great for legal creation or legal documents or anything like that. And I think we've seen that a lot in court cases recently. So I'm not a litigator. Estate planning is not litigation, but we do see in a lot of litigation these law firms, these young associates just blindly creating briefs using AI, and they're citing court cases that don't even exist. And they're getting huge penalties and huge fines through the courts for doing this. And yet we're seeing it over and over again because people think that they can just use AI for everything and get away, and that it works. And it really doesn't always work for legal matters at all. So while it is super helpful with research, for example, I use it to write difficult client emails, to help with social media posts, I'll help with job descriptions, marketing materials. But when it comes to actual legal documents, not helpful.
Yeah, it can't do that work for us just yet, I don't think. And it's an interesting conversation because I think that as more on the legal side, young attorneys and things like that maybe refer to ChatGPT for things that eventually do get documented in the court system. Does that become almost like a self-propelling thing where ChatGPT will continue to be fed by bad information that itself created, that some lawyer then used that wasn't accurate, that kind of got fed back into the system? It's an interesting It's an interesting conversation where this goes. I think in a very general sense, if you're using AI, whether you're a consumer or obviously an attorney, for things that have real world consequences right now, probably not best to bet on that right now at this particular moment in time. Especially for the end consumer who's trying to circumvent a really good attorney for something that's very important in their lives. Still consult with professionals. Make that be your first go-to, I would think.
It's really important to actually find an attorney that specializes in estate planning. I think that's really the key. There's a lot of attorneys that do wills on the side, fill in the blank documents, and in all honesty, they're probably not any better than online documents. They're just Control F replacing on Microsoft Word, and that's really not going to be helpful at all. At the end of the day, AI can give me positive feedback all day long, but it's not going to punch holes in what I'm saying. And I'm here to punch holes in my clients and what they're asking about. I'm here to really dig into their details and their families and their goals and make sure that what they're doing makes sense. Whereas AI just gives you a little fuzzy hug and says, "Oh, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work." That's such a great thought. And that's not what my job is. Yes, I make it very personal, and hopefully they feel very comfortable. But we do have to go over some really tough topics sometimes, like not controlling from beyond the grave and talking to your kids first and making sure that you're not doing anything they really don't want you to do. So a lot of it really just requires that personal touch that AI is really never going to be able to give, no matter how lonely people are and go to different states to meet up with an AI bot. I don't understand that one at all.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but we can't. I'm not even touching that one. So let me ask you this, Trish.
You saw that news article.
I did see it, and I'm still shaking my head at it after reading it, and it's insane. But it kind of shows you where we are with the quick evolution of AI and just technology and where we get our information from and the disconnect that we have. And with you and your sister starting, the firm 5 years ago, AI probably wasn't on your radar at that time. And you were probably, you mentioned hopefully, I just took some notes here, hopefully that you show up in the search, the search rankings. The Arch Legacy firm has amazing reviews when I looked it up. And obviously you guys take very well care of your clients to go ahead and get those reviews, because most attorneys don't have as many 5-star reviews as you do, that I've seen in the past. And trust me, I spent $100,000 on my estate planning. And my brother, who unfortunately passed away as we were going through it, there were some things that I learned was overkill just so that they could charge me extra money on that was not needed, and it actually didn't protect us and hurt us. So with that being said, how, as the owner operator of your firm, how are you continuing to evolve to continue being AI enhanced and not AI replaced?
Yeah, so honestly, I think a lot of it is just doing such a good job that number one, referrals are always going to be key. So yes, I think I have 235 5-star reviews on Google right now. The frustrating thing with AI is that then you also have to have reviews on Justia and AVVO and all of those other platforms that no one uses and no one cares about, but AI does for some reason. So you always have to stay on top of those as well, which is hard and frustrating. But a lot of it is just creating such a good client experience. So it started out with just me and my sister, but we're now a team of 10 moms. So we're all women, we're all moms. There's 4 attorneys, three besides me. And our goal really is just getting to know our clients and making sure that everything we're doing for them is the right thing to do for them. So Nick, you made a really good point. Some attorneys will upcharge you just to upcharge you to get more money. Whereas some attorneys will have you do a basic will so they can get more money on the back end. And how do you know if your attorney's a good attorney that's not doing either of these things? And so I do think a lot of it comes down to your reputation, which is one of the reasons that I've really tried so hard to build that. I would never upcharge somebody for a living trust that doesn't need it. I would never, there's lots of irrevocable trusts that might be helpful, but might not be. So it's all really based on my client's goals and their family situation and then their assets. And I never upsell. I try to just educate and then give them the option so that then they can decide what makes the most sense after they see the pricing. And, it's always a value. It's like, what is this adding to your goals? Is it going to actually work to protect your family? Is it worth it? So we're all flat fee pricing, no hourly billing. And I think that's also really important because all of my clients can email me, call me at any time after they plan with us, and they're never going to get hit with an hourly bill.
Yeah, it's home for us. We were just having a text message conversation about this. We got charged $185 for an email the other day, Trish.
Oh, that's nothing. I had someone recently, a client in there that was saying they had to email, it was a good friend of mine at our tailgate on Saturday, said that he had to email an attorney and got billed $650 for an email and a response. This is why people don't like attorneys.
They need to be working with you. Sounds like you guys are changing the game, which is amazing. I did just want to harp on a few things, go away from the AI, and then we'll come back just for a second. Tell me a little bit more about the business. You have 10 people in the business, all female, all moms, right? Is that that's awesome? Was that by design, or you just happen to find all the right people? Like this is a fully woman-owned business, which is cool.
So originally, I don't know that was really what I was going for. And I will say my husband is my CFO. So he is in the background helping a little bit. And no, I do not want the Excel spreadsheets back, so he can keep those. But technically he's not really employed by Arch, so I don't have to claim him. But everybody else, it's just been kind of a gradual. My sister and I, we first hired our client services director, Sarah, who's a local mom and very well known. And then as we built, we just really realized that we got a lot of feedback from people telling us that they loved the fact that we were women and that they truly felt like we were getting to know them and making it very personal. And no offense to men, I love men, but I think when people think of like the typical attorney, they're thinking of a middle-aged man in a suit.
Sure.
And we don't wear suits. Our office is very, very homely and just very friendly and homey, I guess, not homely. Very pretty. And it just makes people really comfortable. When I meet with clients, it's actually in a living room setting. You can see my dog right now. Say hey, Woody. But yeah, so just making people feel comfortable. And so my branding is that we are a team of moms. And I got asked if I ever thought that, that turned people off. And I'm like, I'm sure it turns some people off, but I don't think I want them as my client if it turns them off. And at the end of the day, everyone loves their mom. So I don't, not everybody, I guess, but most people love their moms. And I, we have kids, we get it, we understand. We're also very busy. And so we also understand the aspect that it's hard to make time to do something like this when you're hopefully not thinking that you're going to die tomorrow. So it's hard to prioritize something that seems so off in the future when in reality, we could die at any time, and it's just not a very fun thought to have. So I think we really can understand and work with families and make them feel special and understood a little bit better than a lot of attorneys can.
Yeah, 100%. And it sounds like that's exactly what you guys are doing. It sounds like you've obviously there's some innovating things that you're doing in the industry, because I think you're right. I think the average person does think about a middle-aged, gray-haired man in a suit and a very grim experience in a lot of these things. So it's innovative just the way that your business is set up. But you're also mentioning a lot of things that you do from an entrepreneurial standpoint that are pretty forward-thinking as far as the importance of reviews and using the technological aspects to generate more business and things like that. Do you feel like in your industry, is it relatively common to be forward thinking around the evolution of technology as far as marketing and branding and things like that? Is that it doesn't strike me as that is huge in your industry. Is that specific to you, or do you have a lot of competition there?
Probably not. I mean, I think we all see the attorneys that do manage to hire really good SEO companies, and I can spot them, and I can spot the bot reviews that unfortunately to most people look like they probably have lots of 5-star reviews, but I'm like, okay, no, that's not real reviews. But for the most part, I think attorneys are typically good at being attorneys and not usually very good at running businesses. And what I realized is that while I'm a good attorney, I really enjoy running the business, and I can hire even better attorneys. So that's what I've really been doing, is that I've been hiring really amazing attorneys that are fantastic at what they do, very detail oriented, love their clients. And I've been focusing more and more on the business. But I will say this, my husband's an aerospace engineer, so he's a total nerd. And so he doesn't allow me to not move along with technology. So I would say at the beginning, I was a little resistant against AI. But then once I realized what it was really for, I'm like, Chat GPT, tell me how to respond to this client on a daily basis. I'm like, here are the details, here are my thoughts. Chat GPT probably knows my law firm better than anybody else does at this point, because I just have fed it so much information. And it's great at that, and I love using it for that because it's a huge time saver for me. Because could I draft a great response email? Yes. Would it take 4 times as long? Absolutely. The biggest thing with AI is just making sure I erase all of the big dash marks so that it doesn't look like it's AI. You got to put in commas, in lieu of those a lot of the time. Other than that, I've found it to be super helpful. And of course, always with marketing ideas. So I ask it for marketing ideas a lot when it comes to AI and what people are searching and things like that. My favorite thing about AI is that it will tell you how to optimize yourself in AI. So it will give you a whole boot camp and schedule and tell you how to make yourself show up in the Gemini search on Google. And I mean, that's pretty nice.
It's huge. That's now you're speaking my language 100%. So much there. I love that. So sounds like you're ahead of the game as far as your industry in all those regards. When it comes to running the business, rather than just being an attorney, like you said, you can hire great people to surround yourself with, but you got to find the thing that you're really passionate about. For you, it sounds like running the business. When it comes to growing the business and using some of these tech tools that maybe other people in your industry aren't using, what's really working for you right now in terms of actually growing the company?
Yeah, so I mean, we're always looking at ways to expand. We do a lot of events. So I'm always asking AI for ideas on how to market better, whether it be Facebook ads or mailers or, whatever it may be. And then also just in general, whether to use trifold mailers or postcard mailers or, always things like that. So I think it's really helpful to be able to ask that, and it's gathering the information from searches and I feel like it's really helpful information when it comes to growing the law firm and figuring out how to grab people's attention and make them start thinking about what happens if they die.
100%. So you said education is a big part of your, essentially your branding and marketing strategy. You guys come from contribution, a lot of events, educational stuff, things like that. So you're using a lot of technology more around, how to market and brand the events, whether it's direct mail, Facebook ads, things like that. These are probably things, and this is where you set yourself, I would imagine, apart from your competition, that I can imagine there are a whole lot of estate planning attorneys out there I have no clue how to run a Facebook ad, and I'm not going to learn. And I don't know I don't know what GEO is. I barely even know what SEO is, and I've never heard of Gemini. I don't know how to come up on the results of anything. I'm an attorney, right? What you've done is you've expanded your business, which helps you serve more people by going, this is inevitable, this is the future, how do we use it as a tool, how do we learn from it? And then at the end of the day, what it sounds like you've done really well is actually go out and execute. Because a lot of people will spend a lot of time just prompting ChatGPT and then not do anything about it. And there's a term for that, I know, it's just not coming to mind right now, but it's essentially the idea of just sitting behind the computer, prompting ChatGPT and creating this little fantasy of what your business needs to look like every day, and then never actually going out and doing anything with it. So in that regard, when it comes to using AI as a tool, but not letting it get you into analysis paralysis mode, how do you use technology to go, here's how we're going to enhance what we're doing, but we need to actually go execute on it, right? Is like, for example, were you running Facebook ads before you were able to leverage them more easily to technology? Or is that, like, what doors have opened since you've been like, okay, this technology is accessible to us, it's not intimidating, but we also have to go out and execute. It's not going to get us all the way there. What doors have opened for you since you started kind of realizing?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I just made a priority list. It can be very overwhelming. It tells you a lot of things that you can do, but again, if you prompt it, it will break it down into like a boot camp of like things to do like every week, which can be really helpful. Versus trying to do it all at once and overwhelming yourself, because it can be very overwhelming. Another thing that I've used it for is that I'm about to publish my first book. And so when writing the book, I actually had Claude AI review the book and give me ideas of, what I could do to improve it and change it and make it better. I heard Claude AI was better than ChatGPT at that, so I'll let the experts fight that one out. But yeah, so I mean, just trying to slowly and not get overwhelmed, because it is a lot of information every time I use it. But if I kind of prioritize my list and let it break it down, but I mean, for example, it can give you an entire LinkedIn bootcamp, which we're about to implement. And start doing LinkedIn posts and things like that. So it's just taking it one step at a time was really important for me, and not letting myself drown in the bazillions of recommendations it had for, marketing. And I don't have a marketing background at all, which is probably would be useless at this point anyhow, because marketing back when I graduated UGA in 2010 is probably extremely different 15 years down the road. But it's been interesting trying to figure it all out and figure out what works the best for a law firm versus other businesses, because obviously every business is going to be a little different.
So Trish, I read, and I don't have the true site for this, but I read that like over half of all law firms don't make it to year 5. Where obviously, congratulations, you guys. It sounds like you guys are doing very, very well. 5 years into it. What do you see as kind of that iceberg that is in your way that you guys need to navigate to be able to celebrate your 10-year anniversary in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think what really stops people from getting to the 5 years is that, again, most attorneys don't know how to run a business and they don't take it seriously. A lot of the attorneys that I know don't have the back end office support. They don't call their clients back. They're not timely because they're just trying to do it all themselves. Being able to delegate and run your law firm like a business is the most important first step to being able to get anywhere with your law firm and out of that crunch of bringing in $200,000 in revenue year after year after year, and never really making it past that point. So we are set to double revenue again this year from last year. And so that's really exciting. But I did tell my fractional CEO that we're going to be taking it a little bit slower next year. I onboarded 6 people this year and I'm just kind of tired. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do a little bit of a steadier growth next year, than doubling, because I don't want to double next year. That sounds terrifying. A lot of it for me is honestly just making sure I can continue to get leads, continue to stand out against other law firms and really help people understand how important personalized and customized estate planning is. That fill in the blank wills don't work, that online documents don't work, that you really have to have someone that knows the law and can continue to guide you. So A lot of it's brand awareness, a lot of it's lead generation, a lot of it's education, just continuing to get out there. We're actually opening a second office in the beginning of next year, which was not on my radar for 2025, but it fell in my lap, so here we are. So just continuing to really break into these markets. Obviously I'm an hour outside of Atlanta. There are lots and lots of attorneys in Atlanta, but I do feel like I bring something completely different to the table than those attorneys in, the high-rise Midtown Atlanta offices. And honestly, almost anybody would prefer to drive towards Athens than towards Atlanta. Traffic's much better on my side of 316. So it's really just trying to continue to get the word out there. It's amazing that even after 5 years in pounding pavement and being so active in all the chamber of commerces and everything like that, that people still don't know we exist or still don't know anything about estate planning or that they need a living trust instead of just a will. So, it's just continue pounding because we've got a lot of people out there still that really need our services. And once we really start getting out there and the word starts getting around, I think it's kind of a no-brainer for people. There's two truths in life, death and taxes, and estate planning deals with both. So, and for a lot of business owners, it's so, so, so important. So I've really been trying to make sure that business owners know how important estate planning is, whether they're real estate investors, they own a construction company, whether it's, blue collar or white collar, it's really important either way.
That's huge. And, I'm gonna echo your statement and put some exclamation marks behind it. My brother passed away, he was my business partner, and we had everything planned out, key man policies, everything. I'll tell you, you're 100% correct. If you don't have those in place, it would have been a nightmare. It's already a nightmare to navigate. It would have been even worse as a business owner or as a partner, spouse, whomever has to deal with the aftermath. If they don't have those in place, they're going to be, one, cursing up a storm, two, wishing that they would have talked to you, Trish, beforehand. And the last thing I say is make sure that you have life insurance. Get life insurance, key man policies, because I'm sure, Trish, you've seen some stuff happen afterwards, and if there's no policies in place, how it can actually hurt the companies and or the people themselves.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about your brother. I honestly cannot imagine, but I don't sell life insurance, and so it's easy. It's one of the easiest sales for me. I'm like, this does not benefit me at all. Go get life insurance if you need it. Now, of course, not all people need it, but people, that are still working, that own businesses, that have minor children, it's so important just to have term life policies, whether it be for buy-sell agreements, or whether it just be there for your family to pay off your debts. So it's really, really important to have those life insurance policies. And so I have some really good insurance agents that I refer to that I don't think would ever try to upsell or, try to sell them these crazy annuities or whole life policies that they don't need. So another professional that's really important to make sure that you find the right professional on that as well.
Perfect. And as we're coming up, we respect your time, Trish. And so there's a really important question we have to ask here at the end. But you were a Coney, right? Did I say that right? A Coney, like you said, pony. So a Coney Business of the Year 2024, even though they've already pre-given her to 2025 because the award does say for 2025. So she'll go ahead and accept it for this year. So congratulations on all the success that you and your firm has had. But of course, the most important is we saw on your website, and what's really connected Brian and I is that you're a bourbon drinker. So what is the bourbon of choice, and then how do you take it?
So I showed you my dog a second ago. His name is Woodford, I do have to admit. My cat, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, her name was Whiskey. So Woodford had to go along with her. Woodford Double Oaked is probably like my go-to on a daily basis. It's just a really good, smooth bourbon. But the bourbon that I kind of like to splurge on a little bit and also get my referral partners is a bourbon called Hill Rock. So it's this rectangular bottle. It's out of New York, not out of Kentucky. And it's Solera aged, so it is aged in port barrels. So it's very, very smooth. It's about $110 a bottle, and it's just a really good bourbon. So it's one of my little splurges. And then any of the Jim Beam, Booker's is a really good one. I got really excited at the liquor store when I saw that they had a Little Book bourbon on the shelf that obviously Freddie made for his grandfather. So it's very incestuous industry for sure. But I've done the bourbon trail several times now, and it's a lot of fun. But those are kind of my go-tos. I also love Michter's. I love Michter's, and it always amazes me how many people have not heard of Michter's when it is a pretty common bourbon. But that's a really good one too.
Ooh, some good choices there. Woodford especially is my love language. So, we'll edit this. I don't know. I think Nick's computer just froze. I guess he didn't agree with your bourbon choices.
I know, right? He didn't like them at all.
Oh, there he is. We got him. Oh, there he is. I was gonna say you didn't agree with Trish's bourbon choices.
No, I love those choices, and it cut me out when you said Michter's, because Michter's is one of my favorite, by the way. So Michter's is one of my favorite. Woodford is my old fashioned. I make my old fashions with Woodford, and then I'm on right now. I'm on the Buffalo Trace kick. So
nice.
My daily drink. It's too much sugar, but I'm an old fashioned and a cigar guy. So if you can give me that, that's the way to my heart. But love it. I love your choices there. I'm going to check out. I wrote that down. Hill Rock Bourbon out of New York. So thank you for sharing that. I'm always
it's a good one.
I'm always here to try new ones. So, Trish, to wrap this up, where can people find you? Because you guys do a ton of events. How can people find you and visit you and reach out to maybe look at setting up a consultation for their estate planning?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our website is just archlegacyfirm.com. I always have to remind myself I don't have to say the www. That's definitely the millennial coming out in me. And then my Instagram handle is also Arch Legacy Firm. And then if you find us on Facebook, same thing, Arch Legacy Firm. We have an events page on our website where anybody can see exactly what events we do live webinars and in-person events. And our in-person events often jump around. We don't just stay in Athens and Watkinsville. We go to some different towns as well. So it's a lot of fun. And one of our events is Whiskey and Wills. So it does include a top shelf bourbon tasting. So that's a good reason to come learn about what happens if you die, right? Got to liquor you up first.
Let's still that one be for our multifamily, Whiskey, Wills, and investing, something like that. So, well, Trish, thank you so much for taking time out. This was very informational, and I'm sure one, from a business owner, we can all relate to with that 5-year mark and the success that you guys have had, and we wish you continued success. So if you found this this episode very valuable, please go visit Trish. Go to her Whiskeys and Will, because at least out of anything, you're going to get some great tasting whiskey out of it. And make sure to go, if you utilize her services, go leave that real 5-star review so it's not bot written. Thank you so much, Trish.
Appreciate it, Trish. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another episode, and we will see you next time.